Joining us from Washington, D.C. is Aaron Houston, Director of Government Relations for the Marijuana Policy Project. Aaron, thanks very much indeed for being with us here in the program. So, the battle between federal and state law enforcement agencies regarding the use of marijuana continues. Now, can you explain to some of our viewers overseas the position of both sides?
Sure. Well, the federal government has, for several decades now, since the passage of the Controlled Substances Act in 1970, absolutely criminalized all marijuana possession and made no exception for any medical use, which obviously flies in the face of science and it flies in the face of common sense that federal law would somehow criminalize, let's say, a cancer patient or an AIDS patient who must use medical marijuana at their doctor's recommendation, by the way. Federal law makes no exception for that. Well, as a way to give patients the access that they need to medical marijuana that their doctors recommend they use, 13 states now, 13 states in the United States have made medical marijuana available to seriously ill patients with their doctor's recommendation. Because federal law makes no exception for medical use of marijuana whatsoever, several counties, 2 counties in California, San Bernardino and San Diego, had sued saying that basically they did not need to give medical marijuana, they did not need to make it available, basically, and they were saying that federal law prohibits them from doing so. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court said absolutely no. They rejected the case that was brought by San Bernardino and San Diego counties, thus settling the law essentially now that federal law does not stop the states in the United States from making marijuana available to patients.
Well, Aaron, I'm just looking at your website here, and you've stated there your goals for 2009, and one of them is to work with the Obama administration to facilitate medical marijuana research. So what is the attitude of the Obama administration to this issue?
Well, President Obama, on the campaign trail, made a very strong statement saying that he would respect patients and that he would not continue the George Bush policy of raiding patients and their caregivers in the states that allow medical marijuana. And he, through his Attorney General, announced a policy change once he came into office. So he said on the campaign trail he would stop those raids. Once the Attorney General in the Obama administration was confirmed, Eric Holder said in March that he believed that the new policy of the administration was to respect the states' rights to make marijuana medically available to patients, and that they would not be continuing the Bush administration policy of the cruel and heartless policy of raiding patients and their caregivers simply for following their doctor's orders. So we are very hopeful that the Obama administration has made these statements, and it certainly stands in stark contrast to the bully tactics that were employed by the George W. Bush administration.
Well, what benefits will the economy have if, say, marijuana use is legalized for medicinal purposes?
Well, marijuana is the country's largest cash crop. Marijuana is larger as a cash crop than corn and wheat combined in this country, valued at $36 billion per year. If we were to actually legalize marijuana wholesale across the board, not just for medical purposes, we would make between $14 and $40 billion per year. What we say is we need to create a protection for the patients out there who need to use it with their doctor's approval right now. That's our top priority, and moving on from that, we want to make sure that nobody goes to jail for it, whether or not they're using it for medicine, because from a public health perspective, jail and prison are much, much more harmful than the actual substance itself.
And can you give us the numbers, say, as to the number of smokers in the states so far?
Well, there are 13 states that have legalized medical marijuana, but there are around 100 million Americans who have used marijuana, and those are people who are willing to admit to government survey takers that they've used it. So clearly, when we have over 100 million people who said they used it to government survey takers, it's probably the case, it would stand to reason, that number is actually higher, and certain people just don't want to tell someone from the government that they have used marijuana, an illegal substance.
All right, Aaron Houston, thanks very much for being with us here in the program and sharing your views with us. That was Director of Government Relations for the Marijuana Policy